So when they do an overnight revaluation and you see gold go to 10,000 an ounce, what actually happens is that they start not suppressing the price of gold. In the black market, it's usually running anyway much higher than the official rates. Kind of, even though it's not a black market, but kind of there's going to be a differential between spot at certain times. When it's more stressed, there'll be a differential between spot and then how much we have to pay for the physical, which is a true supply-demand department. So what actually happens is they will stop suppressing the price of gold. When they do the overnight revaluation, then they lop off zeros, and everything reflects that new lopping off, but not until the gold price is really kind of released. But silver is the secondary currency metal, and so it flows up with gold until typically it hits a certain point, and then because gold is the primary currency metal, gold will continue to express to higher levels until it is probably overshooting its fundamental value. But its true fundamental value is based on the amount of paper that they continue to print. And the reason why you're looking at the official price of gold and you're seeing that lagging, even as hyperinflation is beginning to kick in, rising gold price is an indication of a failing currency. So they're going to keep that suppressed as long as they're able to do so. But you see, this is the piece that I think is hard for a lot of people to get. And that is that at some point, the government needs the price of gold to go to its somewhere near its fundamental value so that they can reset and restructure the currency. So it isn't Wall Street making that determination. Ultimately, it's the central banks and the governments that are going to make that determination. But they're going to definitely keep it suppressed as long as they can, so that you don't realize what's happening. I mean, even today, more and more people are waking up as we're watching the inflation, which is now no longer transitory. Who didn't know that? But do we still have? And I mean, I'm not complaining, because there are a lot of people that are noticing this, that are taking action. This is why they don't want inflation to get entrenched. In other words, when they look at inflation expectations, they want you to not expect inflation to be high going out, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, because then you won't change, the theory is anyway, that you won't change your buying patterns. Mm-hmm. And they want to be able to predict it. They want to be able to control that. So, but now they're coming globally. There are a number of central banks, including in the U.S., that is really kind of seeing that inflation in the public mind is really starting to get entrenched. But part of it is that people see how much money the billionaires have made. They've made a lot of money during COVID or during this period of time. And then the regular workers, those essential workers. So there's a big shift that's happening right now. And that too will have a function of inflation and whether or not it remains entrenched in a wage price spike. Well, everybody's got to do what they're comfortable doing. But I don't want anybody to think that a piece of paper or a certificate is the same thing as having physical gold in your hand. So, if you're comfortable in the stock market, then, I'm not going to tell you not to do what you're comfortable doing. I personally, when you're looking at a mining stock, that's not a piece of gold. It has debt attached to it. It has lots of things that are attached to it, but it's not the same as having a physical piece of metal. And this is a currency life cycle. And when you go to liquidate that stock, what are you going to convert it into? You're going to convert it into fiat, into the dollars, or wherever you are in the world, into the local fiat. That's what I'm trying to avoid. So, I'm not saying it won't go up, and you can certainly do that. You just want to make sure that your bet is hedged, and that is not really your gold position. That's more of, in my opinion, that's more of a stock position. And you'd have to do all your research on the company and look at the debt and look at the management and look at the cash flow and look at all of these things. So it's very different than owning an ounce of gold. A bond is a debt issue, right? And what's the big problem? Well, we have way too much debt. So, yeah, I would not be doing anything. I don't own any bonds. And as an ex-stockbroker, I have a very, and that's what I cut my teeth on, were actually government bonds, because I didn't know how to read the technical language of the market yet. That provide income, what are you going to convert them into, presuming there's anything there to convert into? You know, you're converting it into dollars that have no value. So, precious metals are definitely the way to go. That is not a diversified portfolio. I mean, you're dipping your toe in the fire. Well, if you look at a reset, it actually is very chaotic and does destroy the quality of everyone's life. But nobody could afford to be consumers short. I mean, if you listen to the series, The Boots on the Ground, to people that have lived through hyperinflation, this is what they're saying. Nobody that lives in that country with the currency resetting can afford to live in that country, because wages never keep pace with the inflation. And especially when they're resetting it, when they do a reset 1,000 to 1, most retail businesses, if they manage to keep their doors open, but unfortunately a lot of them are gone before we even get to that point. And those that do survive, it's on a wish and a prayer, because they're not really surviving as far as turning inventory and making money. And you're right, nobody can afford to buy anything. So if you look at the mantra, food, water, energy, security, barterability, wealth preservation, community, and shelter, you want to be also just speaking about community in a place where it's easier to develop, but it's a smaller community, not inside of a big city, so that you can come together and you have different skill sets and things that you can share. But yeah, it all goes back to the mantra: food, water, energy, security, barterability, wealth preservation, community, and shelter. And when I was looking at my bug out, it's what made it so hard, because you have to be able to have access to water, which is not always easy in Arizona, the state of Arizona, because it's more important right now than it ever has been before for people to understand what it's like to actually live through this event. I personally don't think that there's any place that you can go to avoid this, so you better be ready for it. And this, I think, helps us really see so that we can get prepared for it.